Is there any way that you would think
somebody tried to kill my ex-husband? They should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Regardless of who it is.
I mean, it would be different if I thought it were my brother, but I don't think it was my family.
Family had your ex-husband killed to try to help you, didn't they?
No, that's completely untrue.
And you testified on direct that anybody in your family that had anything to do with it should be held responsible. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And that includes you, doesn't it?
Anyone who's responsible.
So now, let's talk about Wendy Adelson, shall we? What is Wendy's life like right now? Have you been thinking about this? Because we have here on Opening Statements. So she's the daughter of now convicted killer Donna Adelson, and she is top of mind for many people, perhaps for investigators, perhaps for prosecutors. Will she be charged next is the burning question. And there have been lots of rumors swirling around the true crime community about what she's doing now. On Opening Statements Wednesday, if you saw the show yesterday, you remember former Florida State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg coming on the program and saying this about what Wendy is up to.
I'm hearing out there on the internet that she's already talked to her boyfriend in Texas about adopting the children. Charlie spoke about that actually in a recorded call with a media person behind bars. And if that was legitimate, what I heard on the internet, then she's expecting it. I mean, Wendy is no dummy.
So Wendy's allegedly having talks to have her kids adopted by her current boyfriend. The other rumor is that her current boyfriend is George Estrada. Now, we have a photo of the two of them together. You may say he's not the typical type she goes for. Some of you were saying how much you thought Jeffrey Lacasse looked like Danny Markel. Jeffrey Lacasse being her boyfriend at the time that her ex-husband, Danny Markel, was murdered. So question, is Wendy trying to keep the kids away from the Markels? Does this move mean anything? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in high-profile criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney John Phillips and high-profile family law attorney and law professor Randy Kessler. Great to see you both this morning. So what do you think about these rumors about Wendy? John, would you kick off our conversation, please?
Here we go with another chapter. So, yeah, I mean, I'll defer to the family law experts to get into the weeds here, but you know, as somebody whose firm does divorce, high-end divorce as well, this is kind of where things pivot, right? You've had this family drama, you've had this murder, and now what happens? And the domino effect certainly is headed right towards Wendy.
I think so too, John. Randy Kessler, tell us what you think about Ms. Wendy Adelson.
So from the family law perspective, it's completely different than the criminal law perspective, right? Criminal law is about, did they do it? Can you meet your burden? You know, they probably are thinking, well, the jury convicted Donna pretty quickly. They convicted Charlie. It's probably not as hard a prosecution as they might have thought it was a few years ago. So maybe they're going to go forward on the prosecution side. On the family law side, you know what the focus is. What's in the children's best interest? And there's a balance there. Is it in the children's best interest? They've lost their father. They've lost their uncle. They've lost their grandma. Maybe they're going to lose their mom. You know, so there's some interesting dynamics going on here. I don't know how it's going to play out, but these poor children, you know, that's the worst of all.
You're so right, Randy. I want to ask you more questions about the kids, please. I have a clip, and this is when Dave Ehrenberg was on the show yesterday. We asked him about the Markels, Phil and Ruth, Danny Markel's parents, the boys' grandparents, and whether or not they've seen the kids. Let's listen to Dave's answer.
They have seen them. In fact, Florida passed a law because of this case to give grandparents rights, although it doesn't directly apply to this case until Wendy is indicted and convicted. So it's crazy stuff. But the Markels have seen the grandkids. The problem is that the poor grandkids have had their minds poisoned against the grandparents for some time. So it's taking a while to warm up again.
Randy, I keep thinking, let's just say for the sake of our analysis with you this morning that this rumor about Wendy trying to get her boyfriend to adopt the kids is true. What rights, if any, do Phil and Ruth Markel have to try to adopt those kids or have the kids be part of their family?
Oh, what a wicked web we weave, right? This is such a mess legally. And what the prosecutor was saying there, if Wendy is no longer available to the children and her husband, the father of the children, is dead, then grandparents have rights. But as long as one parent is there, then that parent has the rights. Now, if the adoption goes through, they're sort of severing the rights of Dan. They're saying this is the new father, and so his parents and his become the grandparents, and the Markells are legal strangers to the children. I cannot imagine the situation unfolding the way it is. You know, the nice thing about divorce law and family law is that they are courts of equity. So we get to do things that are not normal. We get to do equity and justice. And what I've always heard judges say is at the end of the day, in a family law case, they want to ask themselves, did we do justice? Did we do what's right? Not did we follow the law, not did we, follow all of our burdens, but did we do the right thing? So hopefully, if this ends up in a court for family law, you get a good judge who says, I'm going to find a way to fashion a relationship between these grandparents who the children need and the grandparents need the relationship.
Oh, yes, Randy, we hope and pray for that. John Phillips, let's continue further with this analysis. Just for the sake of our discussion today, let's say that Wendy is trying to move forward with adopting the kids, and let's say that there are recorded conversations regarding that. I haven't heard them. Dave Ehrenberg made reference to Charlie Adelson apparently speaking on a jail call. John, tell me, in criminal court, do you see these prosecutors perhaps using those moves of Wendy's to show any consciousness of guilt?
They could. The main word there was setting up the parental alienation and grandparent alienation, which, as we just heard the term mastermind and manipulation and manipulator used over and over again. And that's kind of how the spider web will weave together, that there's on one hand alienation where if it's not Adelson, it's not good. And then on the other hand, you're adding the kind of step family in as a replacement for the Markel family. And so it's a double-pronged attack. And, the motive there, as the prosecutors would say, is all about kind of the big picture here of getting rid of the Markells overall, including, via murder.
Right, exactly, John. And we know these are lovely people. Phil and Ruth Markel. Ruth has been on the program before, and after the verdict, she did speak to the cameras for a short time about how they had to work to change the law in Florida to try to allow for the grandparent visitation because of what the Adelsons were doing and trying to keep these kids completely and entirely away from them. Let's take a listen to some of what she shared.
We have had access because of the Markel Act. So as it was passed, it opened up. Wendy had invited us to the bar mitzvah. So we had a little bit of an opportunity to have communications and some visits, but they're highly choreographed. It's not a natural process. We're looking for when we can communicate via email, via phone. We have everything is done still through Wendy's devices, let's call it, and time frames. So we're looking for a more natural opportunity.
Oh my, it's heartbreaking hearing her. Randy, let me go to you on the time frame, please, because I, for one, and our wonderful viewers at home know I've been in the camp that I thought she should have been indicted years ago. I'm waiting. I feel like it could be any day now. So if she's rushing to family court, if she is rushing to get these kids adopted by her current boyfriend, Randy, would the court do it quickly?
I don't think so. I mean, the best interest of the children always applies. And what's the rush? You can still be a stepfather. And nothing against this new boyfriend, fiance, whatever it may be. It may be a benefit to the children to bring more love and family. I don't have any idea what the family's like, but the grandparents are right. The hard part is having a court impose a relationship, having the court order that grandparents can visit is never a good thing. And, we always have this tension, which is, grandparents are typically smarter or older, wiser, wealthier. So why wouldn't we let all grandparents intervene in their children's divorce or in their children's custody issues? And then it becomes a mess. This new law has got to be for unique situations like this. But to answer your question, the adoption court, I hope, would say, let's slow down, or maybe let's go to mediation and find a way where if grandparents are going to be involved and stay involved in their grandchildren's lives, then we have less of a problem with the adoption. If the adoption is to seclude the children from their grandparents, it could take some time. The judge could impose some social engineering and try to keep this family somewhat together, given all the circumstances.
Really helpful insight you're sharing with us, Randy. John Phillips, let me talk to you a little bit about Wendy and her situation in Florida, where you are licensed to practice. Has she called you yet? And in a lot of truth is said in jest. I'm serious. Let's look at her right now. If you're her, if you're Wendy, what should she be doing, knowing that the state's got eyes on her?
I wish I could pan out and hide under my desk where you could see. That's probably what she needs to be doing. I just messed up my ever-growing hair. It's tough right now. You lay low, you stay out of the news, you do all the right things, you hang out with your billionaire lifestyle, I guess. What you don't do is stir this up. Continue the subtraction by addition, here. When the Markells just want the voice of their father through them, and I'm kind of with you. I feel like something else is coming down the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. Right. And, and perhaps if it was a different DA's office, they may have done things differently. It's not an exact science. You brilliant attorneys, John and Randy, every jurisdiction's different. Trial advocacy is an art. Prosecutors are going to have differing opinions. So perhaps in this jurisdiction, they're doing things kind of the safe way, incrementally, but maybe a more aggressive office would have indicted all of them at once. We've got to leave it there for now and let you gentlemen get off to court. You've got cases to win. Randy Kessler, John Phillips, thank you both so much for the great discussion.